So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Krishna Priya from Triple Department. We are going to conduct a program on advice for career in tech industry. I heartfully thank Mr. Harish Kumar Reddy Gari on behalf of all for his continuous support to arrange this program, providing such a wonderful resource person, Mr. Dev. Harish, can you please on your video so that everyone can see you?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, this is Harish Kumar, who has supported us for everything in arranging this program, and he is providing such a wonderful resource person, Mr. Dev. Now, I request Harish Kumar to introduce Mr. Dev. Yeah, Harish.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Good morning. Namaste. How are you all? Of course, I have muted everyone so no one can speak. That's a good sign, isn't it? To start with. So I have just muted everyone so that, it will not, because we have more than 100 participants. I think 100 participants already reached. Dave, for your information, we have got around 300 participants accepted this invitation. And so I have, of course, we have a limitation of 100 people to participate. So we will, Dave has kindly agreed to record this and put it in YouTube later on, sometime today. Saying that, so I will switch off all the videos as well, so that, so only me and Dave will be visible to you guys. So you please switch off your video as well for now. At the end of the session, we will give an opportunity for you to switch on the video. So, and so that we can, if you have any questions, if you want to ask, so we can participate. So we can see Bellam Gautam. He has switched on his video. Please, can you switch off for now? So stop video. I'm stopping you, Bellam Gautam. Okay, let me introduce Dave, as asked by Krishna Priya. So yeah, Dave has been a very good friend for me from last more than co-worker. He's a good friend for me from last 2 years, and he has conducted many seminars. He's a founder member of Data Swindle, and he conducts these kind of tech talks every month. So, and he's a great individual, nice human being to start with, and he loves India, and he likes curry. What more you need more than that? So, and also he has been in the industry. I think you might have read the description what I have sent you guys already about what Dave is in terms of technology, where he has worked and how he has helped the companies, etc., etc. So, so he has worked in the industry for more than 20 years, worked with many companies. He has built his own company now, and he's a great consultant. People love to work with him, and you will come to know in the presentation anyway. And he's a very good, charming person. He is a very good, he makes everyone laugh and all the stuff. That is the humor point of him. And yeah, so we we love him in the company. So that is the reason I wanted this to be the first session by Dave, so that he'll get used to. We will get used to what's going on. The whole purpose of this session, when Krishna Priya asked me, is to find out your gauge, as well as to let you know what is the industry is needing at the moment. So how can you establish yourself? All these kind of things he would like to answer for us. Thanks, Dave. Thank you so much for your time. It's Saturday, but still you have spent a couple of hours in preparing the presentation, and a couple of hours today. And I think people will love you, and you will come to know by end of the session. So I leave the floor to Dave. I think so that's for now, and maybe at the end we will see the company's college correspondent or registrar or rector at the end of dean at the end of the session, hopefully. So I will, Dave, please, all the floor is yours.
I will quickly share the screen. So hopefully you should be able to see the presentation now.
Yes, yes.
Brilliant. So yeah, so I've kept this session quite non-specific. So I'm a data engineer, data specialist, but I've tried to keep this not really focused on one particular technology, and it's more kind of how to improve your career or how to plan for a career in the tech industry. 1 second. So how it all began. I was born in May 1975 in a very small village in the southwest of England. My father was a chef in the RAF. He did a job for many years he was very good at and loved, but it wasn't truly his passion. He when he was a young boy, he wanted to be an archaeologist, and used to spend all his time reading about archaeology, and spent all his time kind of regretting that he didn't go down that route. Instead, he was asked at a careers meeting when he was 16 years old, "What do you like doing?" And he responded, "I like making cakes for my mum." So it meant that he spent the next 40 years as a chef. So my kind of start was very similar. My dad bought me my first computer when I was 11 years old, and when my friends were kind of out having fun, I was the sad one, sat at home kind of learning how to code, writing computer programs and from magazines and getting them working. And I always had a love for computing. But I left school on the 14th of June 1991 with very few qualifications. My parents didn't really push me as hard as they could have done. And I left school with very few qualifications and not really an idea of what I wanted to be. Where I lived was very close to the city of Bath, where there was a high demand for stonemasons and builders and people in the building trade. But I'd already realized the fact that I liked wearing a suit. I had soft hands and I had a smart brain, and I didn't want to chisel stone for a living. So I decided to take an apprenticeship as a draftsman and building surveyor at the age of 16, and I started a career in the building trade, but a managerial role in the building trade. And I did that for a few years, and I passed my qualifications, and I kind of enjoyed it. And then I left my apprenticeship, and I went for a interview at another design consultancy. And the guy that interviewed me there, he was very open that he was in the office at 6. He often stayed till 10 at night. He loved his job. Him and his wife worked together. And he asked me a question. He asked me why I did my job and did I enjoy my job. And he asked me one particular question which sticks in my mind even now. And he said to me, he said, "If you do something that you love as a job, you'll never have to do another day's work again." And he was lucky. He was in that position where he loved every day of going into the office, whereas I didn't feel that. I was good at what I did, but I didn't feel that same passion. And when I left that interview that day, I made a decision that I wasn't going to do the job that I trained for. And I completely changed. I decided that instead, I wanted a career in IT. I wanted a career in tech. I wanted to work with computers, which I've been doing since 11 years old. And something that I would stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning doing, and something I was really passionate about. So that day I went home and I took a piece of paper and I wrote a plan of how I was going to get my career in IT. The fear was I had no technical experience or qualifications, but I had a passion for the technology, and I had to convince someone to take a chance on me, really. So I decided, I printed hundreds, if not thousands, of copies of my CV. I updated my CV, made it tried to get as much passion into that CV as I possibly could, just to try and convince someone that I was worth taking a risk and I was worth investing in. And I posted out these CVs and I heard very little. I mean, nothing. Also at the time, there was a computer sales company in the town near where I lived, and I was obsessed. I wanted to work for this company. So every week, probably 2 or 3 times a week, I would go in there asking questions of the guys that worked in there. And every week I'd ask the same question: "Have you got any jobs? Have you got any jobs? Is there a place for me?" And there was nothing. And then one day I went into this same shop, and I was friends with the staff in there because I spent so much time going in. And one day I went into that shop and they said, we haven't got any roles, but there is a role that's come up. It's part-time, but it's about 40 miles away. So I leapt at the chance. I put on my best suit. I went for an interview. I interviewed and I got offered the role, which I happily accepted, even though the fact that the cost of the journey to get me to this place was often more than how much it was paying. But I didn't care. All I wanted experience. I wanted to show that I knew what I was talking about, and I wanted to learn off the people that I'd be working with. So I took this role, and it was, I think, 16 hours a week initially, plus a little bit more covering holidays. But it gave me the perfect opportunity to dedicate one working day a week, to signing up to a higher national certificate in business IT. So I enrolled on this course, and I didn't have the qualifications from school, but I had an ONC in building studies, and I had real world experience from the role that I'd been doing. So I enrolled on a higher national certificate in business IT, and I studied like crazy, and I just kept on working at a loss. And as soon as I completed the first year in that course, it meant that I had some proof that I was viable. So again, I got back into producing CVs, posting them out, just trying to get my next step on the ladder. And I managed to get my first kind of proper techie role, not a sales role, with a local company, and that was and they were happy for me to have one day off a week for my continued training, which was fantastic. So I changed roles, and I got my first role as an IT engineer, very junior role, still lots to learn. So when I was in this role, I was there for probably 4 years. I bought myself a second-hand box of books, which was it used to be like a cube of books, and it was all the exams, all the books based on the exams that you needed to pass your Microsoft MCSE, so your Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer qualification. So I dedicated myself to reading. The books are about 1,000 pages. So I dedicated myself to reading a book a month, and at the end of every month, I'd take an exam. And I was just 100% dedicated to getting these exams. And I think it was about 6 exams that I took for my MCSE, and within kind of no time, I passed my MCSE, got my certificate, and as soon as I got my certificate, I was actually offered another role as a database administrator. So it was kind of, I'd got my MCSE, which it meant that I could manage, and I was certified for supporting servers and being a server administrator. And then I was offered a role working as a database administrator instead. So I happily took the role and became a junior DBA for a local company, which meant that I needed to then recertify to get my MCDBA. So again, it was back to hitting the books, studying as much as I possibly could. And it took me again, probably about 6 months or so to get the additional qualifications. And then I became a Microsoft certified DBA. This role was much more focused. This was kind of more focused on database technologies rather than being a kind of a generalist server engineer. And it was at this point that I'd always kind of had a steer towards database technologies. My flatmate at the time used to mock me for creating a CD database, which was my pride and joy. I could find any CD, any track within seconds, which he loved. So I knew I'd had a real passion for database technology. So I took that role. I was there for quite some time. I then changed roles a couple of times, becoming a senior Microsoft SQL Server specialist. What I found was when I outgrew a role, So when I'd be working, when I found out I became comfortable and I knew everything that I needed to, I would kind of request more challenges. So with the company I was working for, I would ask for more responsibility. I'd ask for more technical change, or would I be able to create proof of concept to kind of drive business change? And I've never been one that just accepts that this is where I am and this is kind of my focus. Sorry, I've just noticed one thing. I think the slides aren't moving forward, so please bear with me 1 second. I think I'm looking at the, there we go, that's better. Sorry about that. So yeah, so I changed jobs quite a few times when I felt unchallenged and needed to learn more, until January 2012, when I became a freelance. I became a contractor in the UK. And that was a very scary time. I finished my last full-time role, actually for the company that I'm working for now, on the 18th of December 2011. And I left my full-time role to start my first consultancy. And I'd saved up as much money as I could, but there was still that big fear about stepping into the unknown. So I finished on just before Christmas. I had Christmas without a job. And then again in the January, I started marketing myself as much as I could. And within 10 days, I think it was, I managed to get my first contract as a freelancer. And since then, I've been absolutely fully booked since that time. So the key points: when I finished my HNC, I thought my reading days were over. I vowed to myself I would never read again. That's it. I'm done with reading. I'm exhausted. And when I finished my MCSE study, I vowed the same. And when I finished my MCDBA study, I said the same. Your learning will never stop. If you've got a career in the tech industry, there's always change, and you always need to learn. And I think that learning and the giving up your own time, your own personal time, to improve your skills, is kind of what gives you the edge over people that don't do that. If you're dedicating your own time to something, I like being in a position where I know what I need to know before someone I'm working on asks me a question. And because of this, I dedicate time every single day, every weekend to learning. So the key points from what I've found over my career so far is I dedicate an hour a day to learning, and whether it be reading technical books or Pluralsight training videos, YouTube training videos, anything, I dedicate a minimum of an hour a day, to learning something new for your career. Example of that, at the moment, I'm upgrading my certifications for the new Azure certifications. So every evening, 8 o'clock, between 8 and 9, I'll prepare for the exams. The one key thing you need to do right at the very beginning, before you even start this, or you start your path down a particular career, is you've got to find something that you love. You could take a role that you're potentially good at, but if you haven't got the passion and you haven't got the desire and the interest in it, it's very difficult to learn something that you're not interested in. If I had to learn, I don't know, say a skill that I've got no interest in, I would find it unbelievably difficult to spend an hour a day. But because I love database technologies and I love learning new things, the dedicating an hour a day is nothing. It's easy. So I think the first point is find a career that you love and then focus on it. Make a plan of where you want to be and never give up. If you get turned away by an employer, move to the next employer. Don't give up. I guarantee I've had more rejections for roles than most people, but I've worked, since I became a freelancer, I've worked with 20 or 30 companies, top tier companies. But if I hadn't taken that risk when I first started, I would have never have got to this point. So don't take knockbacks personally. Just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. If you find there's a company that you really want to work for, become, not pester them, but make sure they know you. So if there's a particular company you want to work for, have a look at their LinkedIn page, comment on their posts, make yourself known to them. The other thing is the industry changes frequently. So I'll give you an example. I spent years learning, say, SQL Server Integration Services and become really good at it. I hope Harish will confirm that. I've become quite good at it. But then what's happened recently is most of the technology now is moving away from SSIS. It's moving to Data Factory, Databricks, Scala. So I could keep on reading things that I've done previously and rest on my laurels, but I will get left behind. I'll end up going for roles and they'll ask me if I've got the experience in these new technologies, and my answer would have to be no. So I tend to keep a close eye out on technical changes that are happening, and I'll go into more detail in this in a second. But so I learn new skills and I try to learn the relevant skills. It's very easy reading books on things you know, reading books on things you're comfortable about, watching videos on things you know and comfortable about. But I think you need to you need to learn the difficult stuff. You need to commit to learning things and taking you out of your comfort zone. The other thing I found was I created Data Swindon, which is a Microsoft data technical group. And for a couple of years, I was complaining that there weren't any local technical groups. I used to go to London, Birmingham, Southampton, Exeter, which are 100 miles away or so at least. And I would go to these events and I would say to them, "Oh, this is brilliant, but there's nothing locally." And I waited and waited and waited. Nothing happened and nobody created anything. So I decided, right, if nobody's going to create a technical group, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to take a chance. I think it cost me a little bit for the Meetup subscription, but it's nothing too extreme. I created a Meetup subscription. I then marketed the group with a number of local companies, local recruitment agencies, but then more importantly, I built a really good community on my LinkedIn of very similar people with technical skills that will want to learn this stuff. So I just really pushed it heavily. And within a year, I think we got up to a few hundred members in the group. And generally, before COVID, we were getting, I think, 40 people attending these technical conferences. I would then also, there's a number of Microsoft MVPs that will do technical speaking. And they're really good and they really know their stuff. But I wanted the Data Swindon community to be more community focused. So I really promote, if there's someone that's watching a session, I really promote them to come forward, do a session on something, kind of be a presenter. And the way that I host the groups is completely humble. So if someone has a view on something, that there's a better way of doing things, there's no mocking, it's not personal. It's the group is just completely humble. You can ask any question regardless of how stupid it may be or you perceive it to be, because we've got so many people of different levels. We've got experts, we've got people that are just doing this stuff for the first time. So there's some key points. Sorry, hold on 1 second. So one thing I mentioned previously is, how do you determine what the market needs? What I tend to do is I keep a close eye on skills that are in demand on job forums. So I keep an eye on, say, JobServe, LinkedIn, other job sites, to see what's in demand, see what the organizations that I want to work for are looking for. Yeah, so I keep an eye on the job forums just to see what people are looking for. I also ask my peer group about technologies that are being used. So I openly ask questions at Data Swindon of what technologies people are using. Are they doing any proof of concept projects that may be using something that I haven't? You know, any new tools or processes or methods of doing the same thing. I'm really eager to learn from the people that attend these groups. But then not only that is I also attend as many other groups as I possibly can and ask the same questions. So just constantly asking questions and learning. I also add technology experts, so Microsoft MVPs to Twitter, and just keep an eye on what they're posting to see if there's any new technologies that they're using, or also any gotchas, any problems with new technologies. There are a couple of people that quite happily, a couple of MVPs, Microsoft MVPs, that will take a new release of a piece of software and they'll pull it apart and they'll try and break it, and then they'll post on Twitter the things that they found. So keeping an eye on that is gold dust. I think also what you need to do is you need to market yourself like a product. So my LinkedIn profile, I wouldn't use it the same as any other social media platform. I wouldn't post things that are personal to me. I kind of use it as my window to the world. So I post if there's a Twitter comment, I'll add it to LinkedIn and post on it. If I find something new that I've worked on, I'll do the same. I always post comments about Data Swindon and when the events are happening, and also other community groups as well. So I just keep posting, keep yourself in the minds of people that may be following you on LinkedIn. I think also you need, if there are companies that you want to work for, make sure you add those companies to your LinkedIn. If you know any decision makers in that company, if you can find the CTO or the HR people in that company, add them to your LinkedIn, and then make sure you post as often as you can. So it makes sure you're in the front of their mind. So when they're looking to fill a position, say for example, now I'm confident that if I was to put a post on LinkedIn to say I'm available from Monday, I would get loads of people that have been following my posts, sending me messages, potentially with offers of work. So use LinkedIn as much as you can. The other thing that I kind of hold dear is that make sure everyone that you work with or come in contact with would recommend you, and if you are leaving a role, would want you back. And in that, I find the easiest way to do that is to just try and be as humble as you possibly can, try and be as professional as you possibly can, and honest as you possibly can. So if someone asks you a question about something technically and you don't know the answer, you just hold your hands up and say, I don't know the answer at the moment, but I'll find out for you. And what I tend to do is also add, I'll find out for you tonight, which means that you're going to dedicate your own time to answering their problem. And that adds so much impact to how that person views you. Because if you then came into the office the following day and you said, that problem you had yesterday, I read last night that this is how we can do it. They will remember you firstly, and they'll be happy as you can possibly make them as a colleague. So really try and just sell yourself as much as you can, and have a professional manner, and treat yourself almost like as a product. The other point that I've always held dear is that you need to be kind and a good colleague. Because if your technical ability is absolutely amazing, but you're difficult to work with, people won't remember your technical ability. All they'll remember is how you were as a person. So I think as much as you learn and as much as you can take on board in your particular area of the tech industry, just make sure you're nice about it and humble. Let's get to the next slide. So again, so just covering what we've kind of already covered. How to prepare. So dedicate an hour today to learning and try to go to bed knowing something that you didn't know when you woke up. The way that I, every day when I wake up, I write my journal and I write a list of tasks for the day. And every day before I go to bed, I write my journal again. And I tick the things that I did in that day. This journal is so easy to create. I use OneNote on my Surface, and it's every day is almost like a message to your future self. So anything that you write down in the morning, tasks you write down in the morning, if you haven't completed them by the end of the day, yourself in a year's time is going to look back and question why you didn't do that. So you should only commit to things that you can achieve in that day. And every single day, I've got the same thing. I've got 30 minutes of video training, 30 minutes of reading, and then I've got an hour of non-technical reading as well. And I commit to that, and I schedule times for that very first thing in the day, because it's so easy. I've got a busy life, I've got a family, I've got commitments and things to do, but it's so easy for life to take over and for you to not commit that hour a day. And then before you know it, you've got to the end of the week and you haven't done it any evening. So I think the main thing to do is just make a list, commit to it, dedicate an hour a day to learning, and just make sure you learn something every day. The other thing is, dependent on what industry or what part of the tech industry you're going into, this is from my own experience, you need to create your own test environments. So either using virtual environments that you can create easily, free cloud services that you can spin up, but make sure that rather than just reading the books and watching the videos and kind of thinking, no, that's enough. No, make sure you do what these videos are showing and the books are telling you. So you've got some kind of real experience in it. But the other thing is it's very easy for you to spin up a test environment. You could do this today, spin up a test environment and you decide to learn something. What next? If you do the examples in the books or the videos, so what? It's not going to mean anything to you personally. So you've got to create a real world project for you to learn these new technologies. So, it may be something simple. It may be something like a finance. My go-to application that I use for this is a really simple finance application that takes in files, loads them, models the data, and then produces reports and so on. And I use that if I need a technology change, I'll use that same model and then just keep on expanding to it. But you've got to make sure you find a real world example. It can be anything, absolutely anything. It could be a finance application, could be a inventory, apartment inventory system. It could be anything. One thing that I did when I did my HNC, I needed a case study to do some software development for. And I couldn't find any local businesses that would give me access to their data. No surprise. So I went into a local charity shop. And so I went to a local charity and I said, you've got a whole load of stock that comes in, a whole load of stock that you sell. How do you manage that? And they said, we've got these paper-based systems. So I offered my time and my skills to create them a system, a stock inventory system. And that was the system that I used for my higher national certificate. They were unbelievably happy with the fact that they had some free skills to build something like this. And this was years ago. And I think they're still actually using it to this day. The other thing to prepare, the other key point to prepare, and I briefly touched on this, is sign up to every single technical event that's going, every user group, every mailing list. You need to gather as much information as you can on your chosen technology. And then when you go to these events, it's very easy to go to these events and kind of be like a ghost. You either go there and you learn stuff, but you're not really seen. You kind of sit at the back of the back of the room, and you kind of almost fade away. Try not to do that if you can. I mean, it's unbelievably difficult the first time you kind of do this, but try and go there and be noticed. Be someone that asks questions, even if you haven't got even if there's a question that you know the answer to. Ask questions so that you're noticed as a person that goes to these events. So ask questions and become a known face, and you'll soon create a group of like-minded people with very little effort from this community. I'll give you an example. I've had 2 contracts, one for working for AXA and another one working for a company called SunGuard, that both came from connections that I made at technical events. The AXA role, I was coming to an end of a contract. I met a guy that I just got talking to a few times previously at a technical event, and I mentioned that my skill set and that I was available in a few weeks' time. I got home that evening, there was an email pretty much with a job offer, because he'd already interviewed me. I'd already spoken to him a dozen times previously. He knew me, he knew my skill set. And I took that role, and I think I worked at AXA twice, once for 6 months and once for nearly a year. So it really does make a difference. So now you know who I am. I'm a strong believer that introductions at the beginning of a presentation are pointless, because you don't know anything about me at the beginning of the presentation, and it's it'll probably switch you off because you don't know what the content is. So here's my introduction. I'm David Brinn. I'm the CTO and director of Factal Data and the host of the Swindon Microsoft Group. I worked with data platform for over 20 years as a dev, DBA, sysadmin, Azure consultant, and everything else in between. I live and breathe anything technical, and this is my hobby. This is what I do, and this is why I'm more than happy to spend some time with you guys now. Factal Data it's set up about a year ago, a new consultancy, and we're a data and cloud consultancy based in Chippenham, Wiltshire. I'm taking all my experience that I've gained over the last 20 years, and I'm offering it to companies big and small, multinationals as well as small startups. I'm a strong believer that the multinationals and the large companies shouldn't be the only ones that are taking advantage of technical enhancements. Smaller companies, SMEs, startups, people with just an idea should be able to use those solutions and those same products to give them the competitive edge from the larger companies. So we keep our costs as minimal as possible so that we don't have to charge the earth for providing our services. And that's my presentation. If you've got any questions, please feel free. If you want to connect with me, there's my details. But I'll also be Factal Data's got a YouTube channel, and I'll post this video to YouTube by the end of today. And I think I forgot to say at the beginning, Harish, but Namaste India, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and I hope you enjoy the presentation.
Yeah, I absolutely did, Dave. I absolutely did enjoy your presentation. That was very valuable for all these students, because they are in the college now. They are learning. This keeps them going in terms of finding their soul and their what they need to do, what they need to read every day, why they need to spend an hour, as you said, like every day, an hour matters in their life. That hour is now. That hour is now. So.
You'll be absolutely amazed. Honest to God, even if you just do it for a month, dedicate an hour of learning something new for a month. Make a commitment to that hour. Put it in your calendar. Tell people that, right, I'm unavailable for this hour, and you'll be amazed how much you can learn.
Yeah, so that 1 hour makes a lot of difference over the period of time. Maybe the first day it doesn't matter, second day it doesn't matter. Over a week, yes, they learn something. And as you said, over a month and over a year, they're in the college for 3 or 4 years. And if every day they're dedicating an hour, see how much they can learn, how much they can learn from the industry, how much they need. As you said, you have given lots of pointers for them to find out where the new technologies are coming or what they need to do, how to show themselves to the market that they are ready for the challenges. Like, for example, you said test environments and go and approach people. Don't be bothered about people will reject you. Of course, people, every offer you, every CV you send will not be successful, and they will not call you for the interview.
No, but I mean, just be persistent. If there's something that you're really passionate about, don't stop. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. I mean, there was one particular company that I really wanted to work for about 20 years ago, and every month I would send them a CV every single month, and in the end I kind of beat them down, where I got to the point where the CTO just asked, he sent me a message and say, I've been receiving your CVs, do you want to go for a coffee? We went for a coffee, I got offered the role, and I was there for over 2 years. So don't stop, keep going. It's better to be a pain for someone and to be persistent than it is to be a ghost and to just not be noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it happened to me. I'm just starting the interactive session. Dave, sorry if I'm taking much of your time, so that people will be comfortable to send their questions. So while we are talking, guys, everyone who is on mute, so if you have any questions to Dave, if that can be answered now, can you please post in the chat we have if you have any specific question, and I'll read that to Dave, and hopefully he will be able to answer. If not, he'll get back to you as and when he finds the answer. So we have asked for him for almost 1 hour, so we have 15 more minutes for the question and answer session. So he would love to answer. So if you want to keep any questions, keep it there. So while we have a general chat about the market and the other stuff, yeah.
I think being more specific to say the data role, which I do.
Yeah.
The one thing I've really noticed over the last few years is the pace of change is just unbelievable. I mean, I've been focusing recently on Azure Data Factory, which is a service provided by Microsoft. And there have been there's 2 examples here. So Data Factory and Azure DevOps. So there's 2 technologies I've really been focusing on. And I did a presentation at Data Swindon. It must have been early this year, sorry. And I did all my content. I took all my screenshots. I had my presentation ready. And the night before I was due to do my presentation, Microsoft changed Azure DevOps. So they changed locations of things and headers and quite a lot of stuff. So what I find is even where I'm doing presentations and preparing for them, there's so much continual change. I've always got to use the caveat of this was how it was when I actually prepared this. The other example will be Azure Data Factory. I did a session for the company Harish and I are working for a couple of weeks ago on Data Factory. And again, the day of my presentation, they moved a whole load of options to a different location. So Microsoft and all tech companies are changing things continually. So if you just rest on your laurels, you've done your reading at uni or college, and that's it, you're not going to do any reading anymore. You've got to keep up. But also, the other fact is small changes make a massive difference. If I was interviewing 10 people for a role, and there was one small thing that if they said on their CV, I attend technical groups, I study every evening, I would select that person over any of the others. So make sure that your CV and that your LinkedIn profile actually sings your praises. There was a trick that I used to use with my CVs years ago, and I only stopped this probably about 5 or 6 years ago, was that I'd worked with quite a few techies, quite a few DBAs that were they didn't have a lot of personality. So the first line of my CV used to say, I'm a DBA with personality. And that used to just grab people's attention. So you could try that with your CVs as well, but you just need to make sure that you've got the edge over your competitors.
Hmm. Yeah, Dave, we are getting questions, Dave. So one question. Let's start with who asked Raj. Raj is asking, sir, is there any software? Are there any software jobs that doesn't much depend on coding? Because I am not very good at coding. I am a basic coder. Are there any jobs for software industry who can offer any jobs?
Yeah, what's happening at the moment is if you look at, say, the role of a server engineer or sysadmin used to be very GUI based. You wouldn't need to learn that much, but all roles now seem to be moving towards, say server roles. You're now using PowerShell. You're using coding in every role. So I don't think there's any you can't really get away from the need to do coding. But what you could do, I mean, I'm the same. I started off the same. I was a reasonable coder, but my first jobs weren't coding. They were DBA roles where you do less coding, but you do more administration, and you'd have a better understanding of the environment so you could manage it. So I think if your coding skills aren't that great, I would say go down more of a server admin role, sysadmin role, potentially DBA role. And what you'll find over time is you'll probably find these roles will give you exposure to more coding.
Yeah, we got one. We got couple of questions are pouring in, Dave. So, how do I? I don't have much money with me, but I have passion to start a company. How do I come up with a startup company without having too much money?
Now, this one, I often get people saying exactly this, that they haven't got enough money to learn, or they haven't got enough money to start up. Go to portal.azure.com or Google Microsoft Azure.
Yeah. Thanks, Dave. I'll post it here. Can you repeat that, please? Sorry.
Yeah, just Google Microsoft Azure.
Right.
And the first page you'll get will be setting up a free subscription to Azure. So that free subscription, I think it gives you £200 worth of Azure credits.
And I think it is, if I'm right, I think it is for students. I think they have some offers as well, isn't it?
You do indeed with the student subscription. So if you open up, if you create a subscription as just an individual, you'll need to put in a credit card. If you set up a student subscription, there's no need to enter a credit card. But what will happen is if you go over your credit limits, then the services will just be stopped. So create a student account in the Azure portal. You've got everything there that you need to learn. Also go to Microsoft Learn, which is completely free, and you will have all the training resources that you need to learn the services and everything that's in Azure. If you've got any more money, if you have got some money, no, saying that, I was going to recommend Plural Sites, which is another training site. That is quite expensive for what you get. What you want to do is go to YouTube and Google what you're learning, and search for what you're learning.
Yeah.
One thing to be aware of is because there's continual change. If you look at the older videos, what may happen is you may find that the technology's moved on a bit and you're learning old stuff. So if you can, just order the videos by date and try and pick the ones that are the latest, because they'll be most relevant. So I'll just say Azure for setting up your subscription, then Microsoft Learn, which is completely free, which will show you how to use it. It's got loads of info there. YouTube has got, tons and tons and tons of videos on anything that you need to do. And the best part about this is the tools that you'll have access to on Azure will allow you to create a website with a database backend. It will allow you to, you can't use your training subscription for production and real world scenarios. But what you can do, you can learn everything you need to know. You can create your business, and then you can export the entire subscription to, say, an ARM template or to a file. Then if you want to start up your business and you've got some funding for it, it doesn't cost you anything. You put it on the or cost you minimum amount. You put it on the minimum tier, and then you spin it up in a pay-as-you-go subscription. And just to give you an example, the contract I'm working on, or the company I'm working for at the moment, we've got a whole load of Azure SQL DBs that cost £15 a month. So
that is in Indian money around 1,500 rupees. That is not for the student. What Dave is saying, that is for the real world. That is for
the real world.
Big companies.
Yeah, and what we're doing is we're building a project. We're getting everything that we need using these really low tier subscriptions. When we've got everything done and it's all dusted, or we get performance issues, then we just increase the tier of it. Yeah. So it means that you can create your business for a very low amount of money, and then when the money starts raking in, you just increase it based on load. One thing I found with this is it means that the companies can start with minimal capital expenditure. So you can create your own business in your room,
yeah,
and scale it as you need to scale it, with very little risk.
Next question, Dave. I cannot see the person's name, but I'll read out the question. Software engineering, will it have good future or not because of the situation we are in, COVID, etc., etc. So he didn't explain it very well, but the question is basically software engineering. Is it have an end, or is it ever growing?
I would say software engineering is the market to get into. I used to have this. I used to love working with physical servers. Things that you can take apart, things you can build. But I gave up on that probably 15, 20 years ago, because everything is moving to the cloud. You work on servers, you work on databases that exist somewhere in the ether. So I think the old based roles of like a hardware engineer are kind of gone. I think software is where the money is at the moment. Not only software, I would say data is where the money is. The demand for data skills in the UK and around the world is just insane. So I would say I've been working in my current role for the last 2 years, and both Harish and we've both been working without a stop with this COVID crisis, and we both work in software engineering. So I don't think the COVID crisis is gonna slow things down. If anything, I think there is going to be so much more demand for coders, for people that could administer these Azure environments or cloud environments. I think it's just going to get busier and busier.
Dave, you're having too many questions now. Yeah, at least 15 questions are waiting in the list. So unless you want to spend half an more hour, I don't think you will be able to answer all this, but I think you would love to. And the people are loving you. People are sending questions. I think as you already know, I think the students base today, the students who are attending this session today are not only from the computers background, they are from electronics, electrical. They just wanted to see how what's make that passionate. If somebody want to learn something, how to make that passion there, how to achieve it. One question from someone is straight on that. Like, of course, I think you tried to explain in the presentation you already did, but let me read out. What's your passion and how did you achieve it? I think for that person, I think you need to roll back a little bit. And I think, Dave has answered it, but I'll let Dave speak a couple more minutes on that.
Yeah, I think you've got to, right, from an early age, both my grandparents and all of my family are engineers. My dad, we used to laugh at him that he's a chef, but he used to say, yeah, but I'm an engineer just in the kitchen. All my brothers work on aircraft, all engineers. They used to laugh at me saying I'm not an engineer because I don't get my hands dirty. And I think what you need to find is you again, just get a piece of paper and a pen and write down what it is you enjoy doing. What gives you a sense of achievement, or what gives you a buzz? What drives you to do particular things? My driver is fixing things, 100%. I take on projects that aren't computer based. I'll give you an example. I'm in an office now that was a piece of wasteland on the side of my house, and I took a piece of wood and I stuck that piece of wood to another piece of wood, and I kept on going until I built an office in the garden. It's insulated, it's heated. It's Harish has seen it. It's
Dave, I think that is the best thing which we can show real time. If
yeah.
you don't mind, can you switch off the background and show
Yeah,
the
sure.
So Dave has built, you know what Dave has built? The office in next to his house in the garage, maybe I'll just compare it like Microsoft founder Bill Gates, like maybe Google founder. They started their own businesses from their garages. Dave has modified his garage to a workable office, and you should see he has a projector there, he has a screen there. You should see that.
So this is the office that I built. I had no building experience, but I had access to YouTube. I watched videos on how to build an office, and this building is not a shed. It's got lighting. There's a projector. There's screens. There's desks. It's got everything. There's a big sofa in front of the projector. I'm sorry, but there are Buddhas everywhere. It took me about 4 or 5 months. I can actually post a video.
Yeah.
I can share the video with you guys, because what I did was every day when I came out, I took pictures of what I was building, and it will show you the how it was built and how it went up. But building this is exactly the same as building your tech career. It's you every morning I would start the same. I'd write a list of what needed to be done that day, and I wouldn't go to bed until it was done. And it's exactly the same principle. You just focus on something. I didn't know how this would end up, how it would be when it was completed. But the one thing I did know was it would be finished. I would be sitting in here doing a presentation to my friends in India, and everything would be fine.
We got one more question there. So yeah, that's nice. Thank you so much for sharing sharing the office. And yeah, I'll send you guys the YouTube link video, which I have. Dave's when he was building the office, when he was building his own office, he has shared and he has put that in the YouTube already. But I'll share that link to you guys. Okay, let's move to another question. I think this question is from electrical guy background. I think it is a kind of generic question, Dave. He's asking, I have a lot of interest at solving circuits. Which jobs are there regarding it? I think it is more of it's not a tech question. It is more of electrical engineering background question.
So is this? I mean, the principles are the same in finding the roles. Is if there's a particular location you want to work and a particular role that you want to do, check out the job forums for that location. Check out LinkedIn for that location. Find the companies that are hiring. Find the companies that are that needing your skills. The other thing you can do, what I tend to do as well, is look for the roles that are required higher up the project. So I know if I see a company that's advertising for program managers, for project managers, for BAs, or for and this is the same with any role. If you know that they're planning on doing something, you can see that they're planning on doing a particular project, get in there with your CV. Get in there as soon as you can, because they will, if they've got your CV sat on their desk before they need to go out to market to find someone, you've got such a massive it's such a massive benefit, because you've already got in before the competition. You're like the racehorse that's won the race before the other horses have started.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One question, Dave. Next question is not one question. We have 15 questions waiting there. One question is there future in hacking, ethical hacking?
No, I would say there's a future in ethical hacking.
Yeah.
I've got so many books on. I'm reading a book at the moment on how to become the hacker, which is, it shows you the tools to use, and it shows you how to break into an environment and to hack it and get what you want. I'll be honest with you, hacking is the best way of ending your career, because what will happen is if you hack and you get caught hacking, you'll never work for any big company again. You'll probably never work for a smaller company again, because you'll have a reputation. But if you find vulnerabilities and you protect and you consult on those vulnerabilities, you're indispensable. So be the good guy rather than the villain.
So one guy is asking, I think he wants to be a motivator by the look of it. I have passion about spreading the knowledge, giving seminars and all the stuff. Can I make a career out of it?
Yeah, you need to get very good at what you're doing first before you can start presenting on it. But what I would say is go to your local groups, go to your techie groups. Start small. Start with the local groups. Again, get a name for yourself. Get presenting what you know. What will happen from that is you'll then get messages from other groups that want you to talk there. You'll then get your speaking experience, and you can expand it from that. But I think it's you can achieve it, but the problem is you need to be trusted, and you need to be you need the experience behind you.
One more question, Dave. Sir, I love my education, but I don't get interest in concentrate on something. It is like I think the questions are moving towards very generic, and you're going to be mentored soon, Dave, rather than techie talk. So I my lack of interest, and I feel that I have wasted 2 years in my current education. Any idea? Is it a good idea to stop my education, or do I follow my passion or whatever?
You're in exactly the same position that I was when I'd spent 2 years doing a building studies course, and then decided I wanted a career change. I think what I would say is there's if you're passionate about it enough, if you know that you're in completely the wrong role, then I can't see any issues with switching roles, switching to something you do love, because I think what you'll find is that you'll struggle to put in the time on something that you don't love, and you'll end up being in a prisoner in a role that you don't want to be in. So to make sure you choose wisely, and at an early age, it's not the end of the world, and it's not wasted time. If you're in education, if you're learning stuff, it's never wasted. I'll be honest. This office that I built, I couldn't have done this unless I'd spent 2 years studying building studies. So, yeah. So just don't ever see time in education as being wasted time. What you can do is if you make sure you persist and you get the qualifications in what you're studying, because then you can use that to get on a higher level course on something that you do want to learn.
One question about artificial intelligence, I think, which is really related to our area. So do you think that the artificial intelligence will rule the world in future?
I think possibly, but not for some time. I think there are some really good. If you look for, I think it's Elon Musk's views on this on YouTube. I think that it needs to be handled cautiously. I mean, I've been doing some research on Azure bot technologies, where you can create a piece of software that replicates a human being. So when someone calls, they think they're speaking to someone, but they're not. They're speaking to a system. I think AI at the moment can do so much. It can replicate what people do, but I just think there needs to be kind of an openness and transparency on that. I think it's probably a very good technology to get into, but don't believe 100% what the what the press says about AI taking over the road with evil robots.
So don't watch too many movies is what you're suggesting.
Absolutely.
Right. I think maybe it's maybe last couple of questions. Sorry, we are already 3 minutes over the time limit.
Ah, that's fine. That's good with me.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave. Thank you. So one question is, I think this guy is from electrical background. Sir, I'm an electrical engineering student. Do you think that the programming knowledge is useful or useful for me in the future?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was a quote that Satya Nadella said at a conference last year, and he said, "Every company is a tech company," and I think the way that Microsoft are increasing the markets they're going into and the offerings they've got, I think you need to learn how to code, or you just need to learn even basic coding just to understand what the requirements are. I mean, if you were to say, for example, if you're an electrical engineering student and you create a system that takes inputs and produces outputs, surely it would be good to know how the code is going to run. It's going to sit on the systems that you're creating. So I think having a good overview, I think, makes you kind of more rounded. I would love to learn electrical engineering, but so when I retire, that's what I'm going to do one day.
Yeah. One more question is, I think this is a very common question, Dave, and across India, because as you know, and you might have heard from me many times, this kind of complaining or this kind of argument or this kind of statement. Many of the students study many different branches, like somebody study electrical engineering, somebody study electronics, and they end up in software industry, most of the Indian guys. And one guy is particularly asking about that question is, sir, many people study many different studies, but they are all ending up in software. I feel like I don't have any I don't respect my study anymore. That's his question. He's all about.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think your study, if say for example, I saw a CV and it was someone that had a degree or a certificate in electrical engineering, that would prove that you've got the ability to learn, and you've got the ability to learn some really difficult stuff. So having a degree in electrical engineering, but what you can do is just complement it with, say, software skills, would really put you in a good stead. I wouldn't beat yourselves up about having a degree. I definitely wouldn't beat yourselves up about having a degree in the hardware side of things, or there's always going to be a software requirement for software. And I think what you'll find is people go into software development regardless of what degrees they've got, because there's so much demand for it. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't beat yourself up about being on a wrong course.
So I think one more generic question is, because India is a collection of lots of villages, and lots of villages people still need some kind of basic amenities. Do you think that the software industry improves the lives of people, and how can we improve e-commerce service at in the villages if possible? And do you think that will happen in the future?
I think maybe not up until this point, but I think change is coming. Again, I don't know if you're aware of Elon Musk's plan to put the Starlink satellites into orbit. Within the next few years, there'll be internet access all over the world, wherever you are. So you could be in a village in the middle of nowhere, you'll still have internet access. I think the development of apps on your phone, I think everybody, once this is available, everybody in the world will be walking around with their mobile phones in front of their faces rather than enjoying the beauty of the world, which is a sad thing, but there will definitely be demand for software development everywhere. But not only that, there were some really good case studies from Microsoft on how rural areas were benefiting from Microsoft technologies in things like the management of, I think there was one study I saw about the management of usable water, that they had systems that were linked to the internet that managed the control and processing of say like desalination plants or turning dirty water into clean water. So I think there are opportunities everywhere for technology to make a difference. And I think if you see a problem that you think can be solved by using technology, create it. You've got the free tools on Azure, do it. So yeah, I'm very passionate about that.
And one question is, I have a lot of confusion to go to software or my core engineering, which is electrical.
Right, this is my view and my view only, because I've gone down the software route and I've kind of been there for many years. I would personally choose software over hardware because it's something I love. But ask yourself the question: what is it you love? What is it that drives you? Is it electrical engineering, or is it the software side of things? Because the worst thing you could take from this today would be to say, studied electrical engineering, but this guy Dave, he says software is where the money is. I'm going to can all I've done and go down this route, even though I don't love it. Don't try not to follow the money. Try to follow what floats your boat and makes you passionate about, because that will be the biggest driver of you becoming top in your field.
Yeah, and actually, before this may be the last question, Dave. Sorry, I don't want to take much of your time, but the head of the department from electrical engineering want to have few words with you. But I'll ask last question, and then by that time the HOD, head of department from electrical engineering, will come into picture. Then one question is, one guy is asking about network marketing. Can we succeed in network marketing? I'm new to network marketing. I don't know what he meant, but I'm just, I let you speak.
Yeah. If you're referring to, there are lots of places where they'll market yourself for you. If that's what's being referred to, I would say no. I would say it's network marketing. No, I would say market yourself. Market yourself on LinkedIn. Create yourself your own YouTube channel. Create yourself your Twitter account. Create a you as a brand. Whoever you are now this brand. You create everything that's separate from your personal stuff. So it means that then you can then start marketing yourself rather than network marketing. I'm trying to understand what that is. There's definitely a lot in networking. You need to get yourself out there on the internet, in person, meet with like-minded people, meet with businesses. Just do whatever you can to sell yourself as a product.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. I tried to consolidate so that, a couple of questions became one out of those 15 questions. So you might be wondering, Dave, one more question. What is the best one to guess? Yeah, so this is again a generic question. I think Dave has answered this question to someone. A person name is, Manoj Manu is asking, which is the best one to get success, like my core electrical and electronics engineering, or to go to software or hardware? I think it is again a generic question. I think you kind of answered, follow your passion. I think that will make you happy over the period of time, is I think your answer will be. But please.
Yeah, I think follow your passion. But the other key point is, if you're enrolled on a course and you're doing a course, do not cut and run. Do not leave that course until you've actually got that certificate. I worked with a couple of guys on my college courses that got halfway through the course and then they decided, oh, this isn't for me, and then left, which meant that's the one time you'll learn stuff, but you've got no validation that you've learned it. So just make sure you complete on what you're committed to.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll let Purushottam, who is the head of department, I think you might be saying his video already, Dave. So I'll just unmute him so that he'll speak some words about, I think we just wanted to say thanks.
Yeah, no worries. But if you get any other questions, just feel free to email me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yes, Purushottam. Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, good day, sir. We are happy having such a wonderful person in front of us who are sharing his valuable ideas, and that ideas gave our students a good information. That means the students gain about 20 years of experience. Now my students are getting now students are ready with 20 years of experience with your words, sir.
Do you know
It is very
what I'm hoping is I really am hoping that one of the people listening to this course in 10 years time will send me a message and say, "Hi Dave, I'm in town. I took your information. I'm now the CTO of my own company." That's what I'm hoping for.
even though our students are still a student, they gained much knowledge through your experience and through your words, sir. And on behalf of my college, Anantha Lakshmi Institute of Technology and Sciences, and the entire fraternity of the institution, first of all, I extend my sincere thanks to David, sir, Mr. David Garu, that sparing his time, valuable time, having a lot of works. We know we have some idea about how much the experienced person has to work for the company, even they are out of working hours also. And I also thankful for Mr. Harish, who has arranged such a great person for us to share his ideas and share his experience for our student. I hope so every student has gained some valuable information from the our speaker, Mr. David. And I am very happy, and my management and college principal are very happy to interact with such a greatest person, the greatest person who gave us a valuable information for the students to shine up their career in their future. And I request Mr. David that we will arrange many of the meetings like this, and please support us and give the valuable information and valuable suggestions regarding the students to cope up their career in the our students has to get a good position in the society like that. Thank you, Mr. David and Mr. Harish, for arranging such a greatest session for us. I hope so every student are also happy with this session, and I thank and appreciate the student sitting up to 3 o'clock. They are having continuous classes from 9 o'clock, and with the patience they have sat up to 1.5 hours for this session. I really thankful for my students and staff who else work for this making this program success. And thank you, David and Mr. Harish. Thank you.
No worries, Purushottam.
Yeah.
This is our teacher. I think Dave will echo that in a minute. And I think Krishna Priya, she asked me to unmute her as well, so I unmuted her as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Dev and Mr. Harish Kumar Reddy Gari, for spending your valuable time for us and making this session very grand success. Thank you so much.
No worries. That's fine. Can I ask everyone to be in mute, but switch on the videos so that we'll just see how many people are there and smiling faces. Ah, fabulous! Wow. Hello, Smita. How are you? Sorry, I had to unmute you, isn't it? Right. Yeah, it's nice to see you all.
Yeah.
It was a nice session. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I enjoyed doing this. I hope that you took something from it. But if you need any advice on anything ever.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, please switch on the videos, and we'll be here for 2 more minutes. Let's wait for another smiling faces to come up, Dave. That'll make us happy end of the day, because you have put a lot of effort in it, and of course I had to make a couple of calls here and there to ensure that the program is running on the right time, with the right people. So that happened. So we're all happy from our end. Hopefully you guys are also happy. So yeah, so lots of people are coming up with videos on. Some people are living in the villages. I think they're enjoying their COVID moments, Dave. And yeah. You might be knowing already, it's like, no college is opened. I think they opened the college, Purushottam?
No, Harish, we are having classes in online platform only.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Zoom is not new anymore. So every day is happening for you guys.
Yes, yes. From morning 9 o'clock to evening 4 o'clock.
Right. Right. They need a lot of patience to sit in the Zoom call from morning to evening, but that's good.
Yes, yes, yes. So that only I appreciated my students for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, see, I can see a lot of smiling faces. Thank you very much for attending. And Dave, do you want to wind up the session? So
Yeah, I'll just say again, just thank you for having me. Thank you for your time, and good luck in your futures and your careers and your studying. Just remember, I'm really, really, really envious of all of you because I know what you've got in front of you, and I wish I was there. I wish I was 20 years ago, just finishing my HNC. If I knew what I knew now back then, I'd be a millionaire.
yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, guys. And I'm trying to unmute all to say, yeah, I unmuted everybody. If you want to say, you see loud and clear.
Cool.
Unmute all participants are unmuted. Yeah. You see more than 100 participants are still there. Yeah.
Are they? Yeah. I think we got 74 participants.
Yeah.
But my Zoom subscription is limited to 100.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing well. But yeah, like I said, what I'll do is I'll edit the video this afternoon, and I'll get it on to YouTube, and then I'll send the link.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and we will look forward for your YouTube link. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks. Bye.
All right then.
Bye.
See you again.
Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye, bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir.